AWS and Microsoft Azure, two cloud giants, each claiming to be the ultimate platform. Which one actually pulls ahead in 2025? On the left, AWS, the world's largest and most mature cloud platform. On the right, Microsoft Azure, the enterprise-focused hybrid cloud powerhouse. Let's skip the marketing hype and get straight to the facts. We'll break it down category by category, each earns points, and by the end you'll know exactly who comes out on top. The final result might just surprise you. So here's how we're gonna compare AWS and Azure. We're looking at global presence, integration and ecosystem, services and breadth, pricing, market share and adoption, performance and reliability, security and compliance, and, oh yeah, developer experience. That's a lot, so stick with me. Alright, first up, global presence. AWS is just nuts here, over 70 regions, 150 plus data centers. I mean, unmatched global coverage though, yeah, some newer regions don't have every single service yet. Now, Azure, it's rocking 37 plus regions and actually even more data centers, but not as many distinct regions as AWS. They do have this cool thing with hybrid deployments for regulated markets. But if you're talking pure reach, AWS totally takes it. Next, let's talk integration and ecosystem. AWS has this broad third-party support, and honestly, their developer community is massive, but it's not always seamless if your company is, like, super into Microsoft. On the flip side, Azure is basically the dream if you live in the Microsoft world. The integration with things like Office 365, Active Directory, Windows Server, it's top-notch, especially for enterprises running Microsoft. If you don't want to use Microsoft stuff, well, it can feel less flexible. For most businesses on the Microsoft stack, Azure is the winner here. Now, services and breadth. AWS offers over 200 services, super granular, so you can build exactly what you want, from compute and storage to all the shiny machine learning goodies. The flip side is, sometimes you wish you could get more bundled, managed solutions. You kinda get left piecing things together yourself. Azure, though, get this, over 600 services. It's all about robust, managed experiences with strong hybrid features and security. You pay for it, sure, especially if you leave the friendly Microsoft zone, but yeah, Azure genuinely feels more stacked. Quick cloud fact, did you know both AWS and Azure have these ultra-secret regions? They're basically hidden data centers for governments, defense, and yeah, super secure workloads. More spy stuff than cloud hosting. Pricing, this is always tricky. AWS gives you crazy flexibility, pay-as-you-go, reserved plans, savings plans, big discounts for commitment. But have you tried to estimate your AWS bill? It's like a whole thing. Azure's pricing is more transparent, and you'll find better deals if you're already inside the Microsoft ecosystem. Both offer similar pay-as-you-go and reserved options, but truth be told, outside of Microsoft, it still gets expensive on both sides. So it's honestly a tie. Alright, market share and adoption. AWS is just the cloud juggernaut, seriously, up to about 33% market share. Everyone from tiny startups to unicorns to Fortune 500s is on there. Massive user base? The catch? Azure's growing way fast, revenue up 34%. It's super popular in enterprise, especially with hybrid stuff, but you know what? It's still hanging out in second place, 21 to 24% market share. So AWS takes the win again. Performance and reliability, okay, both platforms are pretty mature now. AWS has all that reliability and deep operational experience, but I'll admit, it's kinda intimidating for beginners. Azure's onboarding feels way easier, and it's got this reputation for reliability and enterprise-grade security, especially if you care about regulations. Sometimes Azure gets a little complex when you throw hybrid and pure cloud setups together. Honestly, can't pick a clear favorite. Tie. Security and compliance. AWS isn't slacking here, seriously strong compliance portfolio, totally enterprise ready, but sometimes you get those super niche industry needs and AWS might not cover every base. Azure really shines for compliance, especially in regulated and hybrid markets. Stuff like Entra ID and identity management, super strong, but you might need some deep Microsoft expertise for those advanced security features. Overall, Azure takes the crown for security. Last but definitely not least, developer experience. AWS gives you super configurable services, and there's almost too much documentation and community support. But with great power comes a steep learning curve, especially if you want something super custom. Azure, tons of dev tools, especially if you code Net or C, and their DevOps stuff with Azure DevOps and GitHub is awesome. But hey, best experience comes when you're already a Microsoft developer, so honestly call this one a tie. Alright, let's check out the radar chart to see how AWS and Azure stack up across every category. You'll notice AWS takes the lead in global presence and market share, while Azure kinda sneaks ahead in integration, services, and security. Pricing and performance, pretty close calls. So, here's what I really think. AWS is still the overall champ for sheer scale and maturity, right? But Azure is the go-to for enterprises living in the Microsoft universe or needing killer hybrid options. If you want global reach and tons of flexibility, AWS still calls the shots, but if you're all in with Microsoft or working in sensitive industries, Azure makes a ton of sense. It all depends what you need. Got a specific cloud project or workload in mind? Drop a message and let us know what you're planning. Honestly, a custom recommendation is way more helpful than just picking big names.